Hello everyone, my name is Kenya McQueen and I'm going to present my older adult presentation. So just to give some background on the person I chose to interview, she is an African American woman. She is currently 71 years of age. She is a sister to 5 younger siblings and to one older sibling. She was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, more specifically South Philadelphia and West Philadelphia. And during her younger childhood years, she did grow up in poverty. So the stage I chose to use is stage 5, which is the identity versus identity confusion. This is during the adolescent stage of development. During this stage 5, identity versus identity confusion, it describes the different identity crises that young teenagers go through as they are growing up, and also how they try to figure out what roles they are going to play in their life, either at home, with their family, in their neighborhood, or with their peers and classmates at school. So some of the things that my interviewee has experienced during this stage of her life is taking care of her younger siblings. She did take on the second mother role due to her mother being very busy and at work a lot. Her mother relied on her to step up and take care and help out with her other siblings. One of the things she was proud of was her school achievements. In high school, she said that she was class president each year through ninth through 12th grade, and she also played on different sports teams such as volleyball, tennis, and softball and basketball. She also stated that she always understood the value and importance of being close with her family. She always valued being a very close sibling with her other sisters and being very close with her mother. So, some of the issues that my interviewee grew up with and faced was racial profiling, because she is African American, and also growing up in poverty, which I will explain in a later slide. However, one of the biggest accomplishments that she did mention to me was the fact that she did march with Dr. Martin Luther King. Her mother did not want her to march with Dr. King because she did not want her daughter to put her life in jeopardy. However, my interview stated that this was such a huge cause for Black rights and Black civil rights that she had to skip a day of school and to march with Dr. King when he did march in Philadelphia. So, as stated previously, during this stage, the psychological crisis that is happening, or that teenagers are going through their own crisis, which is their identity crisis. They are still trying to explore and develop a sense of identity and to figure out who they are. They also go through a lot of issues with their self esteem. Sometimes this can make them become very self absorbed because they are very much focused on how they come across to their friends, to their family, most likely to their friends and some of their peers in school, even to people that they do not associate with. As a teenager, your public image is everything. So, just to give more information and background, so my interviewer did state that one of the racial profiling scenarios that she did go through is when she was at the playground with her and a couple of her friends. she was actually escorted off of the premises by a white police officer due to the fact that she was African American. This was not something that she just thought of or just assumed. This is actually what the police officer told her. Another issue or incident that she experienced racial profiling was when she was actually called the N word by one of her classmates during school. Another issue she faced was gender discrimination. She did state that when she would go to some social functionings, that as a woman she was not able to use the entrance that the men used. Even though they were all going to be at the same event, sometimes women had to actually enter through the back way, and not the front way that all the men did enter from. My interviewee actually did not let any of these hardships make her feel sad, or ashamed. It actually had her do the reverse effect, in which she felt very proud to not only be an African American, but to be an African American woman. It helped her want to become more into black civil rights, which is one of the reasons why she did march with Dr. Martin Luther King. She also stated that she did not let her economical struggle define who she was as a person. She did state that she always said to herself when she becomes older, she wants to be able to have a very good job, become independent, and to take care of her family. She also told me that she did not want to have as many children as her mother has had because she is one of 7 siblings. She did state that she's either going to have one child or no child at all. Even though her mother may not have been there as much, she did always state that she looked up to her mother. Her mother always worked very hard to keep food on the table for her and her siblings, and her mother always did what she could to make ends meet for the family because she was the single breadwinner of the family. So, another theory that I thought correlated with my stage 5 theory was the ecological theory. And what this theory states is that different aspects of the individual and the environment help develop a person. That a person's environment plays a big role in how they develop and how they are raised, which is something similar to the nature versus nurture aspect. Three factors that play a huge role in the ecological theory are the micro factor, the meso factor, and the macro factor. The micro factor states that the biological, psychological, and developmental factors play a huge role in development. The meso level states that a person's immediate environment, such as their family, friends, and neighbors, play a role in how they are and how they develop. And the macro level states that different social issues, such as different government policies, discrimination, oppression, and even social policies, affect how a person develops over time. So there are a couple of limitations for the ecological theory. One of the limitations is that it does not focus enough on the biological approach of the individual. The ecological theory mainly focuses on a person, the individual, and their environment. It does not focus on the biological and the cognitive development that will shape a person. Another limit to the ecological theory is that it is a very broad and general theory. And it is hard to determine that a person's environment will play such a huge role in how they develop. So, during my research, there were 3 articles I found that correlate to my interviewee's information during her stage 5 theory. One of the titles of the articles was called Early Childhood Poverty. This article described that children were more likely who grew up in poverty were more likely to have a low income job and were also more subject to different health risks as they grew up. Even though my interviewee did grow up in South and West Philly and did grow up in poverty, however, these factors did not play a huge role into the health issues she has now. They were more on just her getting older and not so much on the neighborhood and environment that she grew up in as a child. Another article that I read was titled The Markers and Meanings of Growing Up. And in this article, researchers surveyed a variety of teenagers and asked them what it meant to be an adult. A lot of them stated that having a family, being the breadwinner, and having a child would define being an adult. My interviewee did say that um, taking care of her family and providing for her family was 2 factors that she believed made someone an adult. And then the last article that I read was titled Growing Up Faster. And in this article, it described different life scenarios that would make a child have to grow up or to mature faster. These scenarios were described as either divorce or things such as teenage pregnancy. My interviewer did state that because she had to raise her siblings and view her mother fighting mentally and physically with her father, that these 2 factors did make her have to grow up a little bit quicker than her other siblings and also made her take on the role as the mother. This also made her have to be a little bit more serious because she did take on such a huge role. However, as she always mentioned to me, it never took away the love that she had between her mother and her siblings. Thank you all. This was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.